I haven't gone yet, and then we'll have to work out who's left, I think. I'm Philip Sheldrake. I'm a PhD candidate at Southampton University. Also work with the Akasha Foundation and looking at all things to do with interpersonal data, emerging from which are wonderful things like our identities. So that's my obsession. And I shall pass to Christina.
I already did the check-in, so I'll pass to Colin.
Damn.
Hi, I'm Colin in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I'm involved in a few groups and interested in what's going on with the ITP right now. That's being built out of the PKE, and also with some stuff that's being built here. So the interface between technology and people and doing, I guess, exploratory mapping is how I am going about trying to figure things out. Thank you.
Who are you passing to, Colin?
I don't see anybody.
Everybody who
Has everybody gone?
has not gone, raise your hand if you've not gone.
I'll nominate Stacey.
Hi, my name's Stacy. I'm from New York, and like Jim McGee, I'm one of the new kids here, and it's just nice to see a lot of the faces that I've heard about. And I will pass to Eric.
Brilliant.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Rangel in Pennsylvania, and I've been working on a project called Climb That Mountain, looking to integrate decentralized technologies in educational scenarios, and I'll talk about it later. Thanks.
Sean?
Sean here, having the last word. So that's good then. So great to see a lot of familiar faces and some not so familiar. And greetings from Manchester, UK.
Thank you. I think we've still got a few people to go. Steve Taylor?
Thanks, Graham. Steve Taylor from Cambridge, EU at the moment. Picking up on Sean's point there. Very interested in everything that we're doing here. Been involved for quite a long time. Been chatting with Philip recently about ways that we could get the High project going again. So trying to see how that will work. And then obviously recent D-Day remembrance and some of the conflicts there making me think a lot about how we should negotiate better and things. Anyway, that's me for now.
John Grant?
John Grant. Hey, hi, John.
Hello, folks. John Grant from Manchester. Michael, have you gone?
Yeah, Michael's gone. Les, do you want to say something, Les?
Hi, yeah, I'm from Manchester, but I'm based in London. I'm the incoming chair of the Permaculture Association Britain. I work with Michael on the currency program, and I do a lot of work around sociocracy, the consent-based decision-making framework. And thanks, everybody. Welcome. How are we getting on?
I think we're nearly there. Has anyone not gone? Roy, did you go?
Roy.
Yeah, Roy, I think I'm actually bringing up the tail. I'm just wondering whether this is the best place for me to be spending the afternoon of my 60th birthday. Probably, but we'll see how we go.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yeah, well, happy birthday. Okay, fantastic. Now, I think that is everyone. Yeah? Cool. Okay, so next up, member update, it says there. So I've just got a couple of things to say on member update. I don't know if anyone else wants to pitch in on that. Give me a shout if you do. I just did a quick check. It looks like we've got 220 members in the collective at the moment, by my count. About half of those are actually past their expiry date because we've been really slow in terms of getting people to renew. We were planning to get that all rolling last month, but we're running late on that as usual. So, but that's my job to try and get that back on track, I think, over the next few weeks, and get expired members back into the fold and get a bit more money off people to keep the wagon on the road.
It's worth explaining, Graham, that that's not because we just haven't got round to it, but because we're trying to do it in a joined up, smarter sort of way.
Of course, yeah. It'll be seamless and elegant, Philip, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I think we're pretty close. So we put a new system, put a new technology in place to help us manage memberships, and we're just sort of getting that running smoothly so that we can do that bit. We can do really exciting things now. Like we can tell the difference between a member that's an individual and a member that's an organisation. So I think that's got some radical opportunities behind it there, stuff like that. That's all I'd like to say on membership. I think 220 members is nothing to be sniffed at. I think that's pretty good. Anyone else want to say anything on membership? Move on.
I would. In general, I tend to connect people and help them find their spot, and member relations team is kind of not a team yet. I really need help doing that. And I think we also really need help for sysadmin type stuff. So those two teams in particular, if you haven't been in ops, if you're not working in the collective and you would like to get more involved, in particular, those two teams really could need some help as we are in this funny stage of growing, but not quite able to fund ourselves yet. So it's a delicate phase, I think.
Would someone like to raise their hand to volunteer?
You don't have to put them on the spot, but
yes, we do.
ping me anywhere.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Obviously, it helps you get to know some of the other people in the organisation, find out a bit more about what's going on behind the curtains, as it were. It's always good to do. Feel free to get in touch if that's something you'd like to do. Right, so that's it on membership update at the moment. We'll probably come back and cover some more related bits later in the call. Moving on now to cooperation as a service. I don't know who's going to run on this. Is this you, Joaquin? Yeah.
Sure. Great. Thanks, Graham. So yeah, you said we have a lot of new opportunities here in the collective. So let's pick up on that and let's see what we can do. So I'll share some slides with you in a second. But before I do that, just to recap, so over time we have kind of assembled a big array of tool sets, protocols, great people, and we applied a lot of this internally to the Digital Life Collective. I think from here on, we started to think a bit bigger and wanted to offer these kind of tool sets and protocols and services to other organizations, right? And by organization, that could be anything. That could be a community, another collective, another co-op, a group, right? A formal organization, a non-profit organization, any kind of organization that could benefit from actually the knowledge and the tool sets and these protocols we've been putting together here at the collective. So out of this came the idea of, okay, let's offer this to other people, right, to other groups, but not so much as software as a service model, right, where we just have a software package, we have a new platform that we develop and we put it out there and then we sell the service. But we wanted to package that differently, right? Differently in the notion of, in the spirit of, how we already work together, very cooperatively, very collaboratively. So we called that thing CAS. So CAS, as we've introduced it actually in the last GM, CAS stands for Cooperation as a Service. So that's kind of the new model we're looking to build out further with the collective. Cooperation as a service versus a simple model like software as a service, right? So let me show you a few slides here. Not sure how much time we have to go over all of the slides here, but give you an idea or give you a flavor of what that cooperation as a service model looks like, right? So this is a high-level introduction. This goes along with send out some of these more neutrally branded messages to other organizations, to other groups who are interested in working with us. So we've been talking to the Bates Institute and a couple of course folks and other groups who might be interested to pick up on this model, right? To pick up on some of the tool sets and the protocols that we developed for the collective. So let me give you a high-level overview here. We can start for questions at the end. Hope there's enough time for that, or jump in between. So this is the focus again on cooperation, right? So this is not about building a better competitive platform, building a better communication platform, or improving heads-down collaboration. So this is more of what we see here as an infinite game type of environment, right? So it's a new kind of playing field where's my laser pointer? A new type of playing field here at the bottom that opens up new and I don't know the term adjacent possibilities, right? So this is a space, a playground where you bring organizations into the same space, they discover, they learn from each other, and suddenly something new comes out of this, right? Something faster gets built, something new gets co-created, any of these activities inside that space. So we want to leverage that kind of idea of having great organizations using the tool sets, using the protocols we're putting together here, and then within the boundaries of what's here called infinite game, right? So what that means is a safe space for co-creation and co-opetition. So we can create things. You still have your own, identity and your own organization and boundaries inside the organization, but you increasingly sort of use and look across what others are doing in this space, right? So that's really at the core of cooperation as a service. And to go back to the model we started with, this will look familiar to people who've been with the collective for a while. So this is our duality model. And I think we're at a point now where we can expand that duality model a bit more, a bit further. So you see here this yin-yang thing in the center, where we said we nurture technology. We nurture certain technology that we believe, we want to enlighten people, talk about more and evaluate things in the space of technology we trust, right? So tech we trust was the starting point for the Digital Life Collective. And there are topics like decentralization, privacy, security, and digital identity that we looked at and we actively discussing across the collective and all the different channels. But now the idea is let's expand this model and see if we can bring other organizations on board who not talk about technology we trust, but they have their own challenges, right? They bring their own problems that they deal with on board and connect them in a way that they begin to cooperate in new and better ways, right? In better ways for, how do you have better conversations, non-real-time, real-time conversations? How do you publish content? How do you govern this group of people? So all of these things that are necessary to cooperate and to connect them to these. On the right side, you see these projects, right? So lots of stuff going on our side, of course. We have our different variety of projects here. And the idea is that the Digital Life Collective becomes like a membrane, a safe space where people can enter that space and then begin to understand what's happening here and cooperate and work on their own. And if you take this one step further, so this nurturing is something we've been doing, obviously, with technology we trust. But this can become a whole, call it at the bottom here, ontological architecture, where you bring on board a whole other set of challenges or spaces that people are concerned with, and connect that to projects they're working on, right? So this enabling this cooperation is what's at the center here, called as cooperation as a service, right? Give you an idea. So right now we have an architecture for technology we trust. So we have a good understanding of that kind of problem space. But there could be other problem spaces like the SDGs, right? So you take a look at the Sustainable Development Goals, it's a whole different ontology, right, of problems and challenges. And we have members here who also are actively working in these spaces. So this could be another ontology that's now, working with us to sort of mapping that to active projects within the collective, right? And the bridge here again is this thing called cooperation as a service. So helping people to come together, to work together in better ways, and to find, connections to other groups who are in the same space, right? Okay, so I'm going to go over a few other slides here to speed this up a bit. One thing is the notion of an experience space, right? So that's a space that's rich in interactions. It's rich with services that we can offer, and we refine those over time, right? So the result is that any new coming organizations, individual of an organization, can benefit from these new patterns and these new possibilities we offer to these groups.
Joaquin, I'm just got to nudge you to move through, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. As I mentioned, let me figure out a model that we can show here. A lot of the wording, and there's a link actually in the notepad. You can watch the presentation later. So a lot of the wording here you will see is coming also from Nora Bateson, since we've talked to her a few times. The idea is to bring her thinking into this cooperative space here, and sort of enlarge our thinking, and have that as a foundation, one of the foundations for moving this cooperation as a service forward, right? Okay, let me see what else we can show here in a short amount of time. Again, you can look at the link, and then there's a more detailed explanation for the slides here. But let's jump to the end here for a slide about sort of the measurement piece, how we know this model is successful, right? So what do we do in looking at can it work? Will it work? Are people getting the thing out of this that they wanted to do? So there are two metrics here that we're looking at. One is called social cohesion. So cohesion as a measure of, you can see that in the text here, working towards the well-being of all the members, creating a sense of belonging, promoting the trustful spaces and trustworthiness, and participating in co-creating these social objects, right? So there are a couple of issues and points we can look at to make sure that is done within the cooperation as a service model. And the other one is, again, going back to Nora Bateson's thinking on somaticity and biosemiotics. So are we creating something like a living and breathing membrane here for members? Are we learning from each other? This mutual learning, is that present in the space? And are we increasing the levels of understanding and sense making? So this is all coming together, hopefully, with new organizations joining the collective, and then we're starting that process up and see where we're going with this. So it's one of the things here. This is the last slide here, Les. The idea of creating a coral reef, right? So bringing people on board to help protect, preserve, keep it alive, and thrive inside this new socio-technological stack that we're building, right? Again, there's more behind each of these squares here, so we're working on building that out and see where we can take this. Anybody who's interested in doing more, there's a CAS crew channel in the operations team, so you can join us there, and then we can go deeper into these conversations. All right, let me stop my screen. Go back to that.
Great, thanks, Hakeem. Yeah, I mean, every time we look at this, it gets, for me, it gets richer and more complex, I think. So there's a lot to dig into there, isn't there, I think? And so I'd encourage people to do that when you've got some time. I think it's really fascinating, the work that's going on there. A lot of potential. Okay, any questions on that now or queries before we move on?
Just a brief comment, which would be to keep your eyes open for groups, collectives, cooperatives who you think could benefit from cooperation as a service. Sounds like a simple thing to say, but it's worth saying because we need our first, for want of a better word, guinea pigs to be onboarded this year and to help us learn mutually and improve mutually.
We will be making a short version of the deck that is less complex, more of a call to action, as well as a couple other onboarding things like pricing, how to get in touch, and we'll provide that to people when they're ready.
Great, thanks Christina, thanks Philip. Les, did you want to say something there?
Only fantastic, and I think we're all amazed, but great, let's move on.
Yeah. If we have time, I think a short demo of the portal would help give people a picture of what this is going to look like.
Let's get to the end of the agenda and see if we
have time. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to ask Richard now to say something about the work. Robert, say something about the work that he's involved in with Open Learning Commons. Robert?
Sure. So I guess in some sense, the Open Learning Commons has been a guinea pig type thing, although it's been pretty, the people playing in that space have, for the most part, been Dig Life members, so it's kind of lots of overlap there. For a bit of context, I've been really interested and inspired by this idea of sort of open learning or the peer learning or co-learning online. So I had actually played with this concept with Jim McGee, who I can't tell if he's still on the call, but through an Howard Rheingold course, and afterwards just wanted to sort of keep that sort of experimentation going. And about the beginning of this year, Sophia from the collective sort of instigated me to sort of reinvestigate some of those ideas. So I had at one point was going to create sort of a whole separate Mattermost and a whole separate everything, and was convinced, I think, by Christina to sort of, hey, for now, let's use it as almost what she called an adjacent possible space within our Mattermost. So in some ways, that's how the Open Learning Commons exists currently. Actually, I can share a link if you're not currently in that team on our server. That you can join. It's more of a, I guess, an open membrane. So technically, I think we decided you didn't have to be a Dig Life member to join it. So a few people have trickled in, but some sort of instigation from David Ng, we've sort of been suggesting to each member to sort of just become a Dig Life member as well, to sort of get access to this CAS suite of tools. So we've been playing and benefiting with some of the stuff that Joachim has shown. And yeah, also playing with our own little suite of things too. So I integrated, if you notice, into the Mattermost a thing called Big Blue Button, which we haven't used all that much, or maybe it's been used, I don't know. And yeah, so just a brief explanation of sort of the intention there is that the Open Learning Commons is sort of a space to explore your interests in almost any sort of domain or field, and find people with shared interests and begin to curate resources together so as to sort of facilitate yourselves through an exploration, whether it's, so some of the topics of interest so far in the Open Learning Commons is things like systems thinking, just sort of reading off the list here. And I guess David could touch on some of the systems thinking stuff. He's been sort of more recently working with me pretty directly on the thinking behind Open Learning Commons and where it's going. And yeah, so rather than just be sort of a text-based chat, there's lots of cohorts that are doing sort of weekly meetings. I'm hosting a few myself, one around something I've called metacogs. There's other ones doing pair coding. And yeah, I don't know. At this point, I feel like I'm rambling, and we have a long agenda. So hopefully that hopefully that gives some general context of what's going on with the Open Learning Commons.
And we have FedWiki going on there with the Wiki channel. wiki.diglife.coop, which we're starting to play with.
Okay. Well, what's interesting for me, from what you've said there, Robert, is that you've benefited from what you've said, from the sound of it, from this, the fact that you're sort of in the mix with other digital life collective activities, and that sort of cross fertilization has been valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say I'm super interested in recent advancements with the sort of membership stuff, because this is something I wanted to look into myself anyways, of like, how could the Open Learning Commons do something like a membership? And then we could then start prototyping how maybe funding from one membership could sort of transfer its way into the Digital Life Collective to sort of pay for server costs and that sort of thing. But a lot of this stuff is still pretty nascent and exploratory, but it's all sort of getting fleshed out. David prompted me recently to get the website a lot more intact so that there's links and things, right? It's openlearning.cc, but at this point it's just like a unfilled in template. So if anyone wants to help with that, that's sort of a next step for the Open Learning Commons.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. That's really good. Any comments or questions for Robert before we move on? No? Okay. So next on my list is, oh, hang on, here we go. Mapping update. Christina, this sounds like it's got your name on it.
Yeah, so I pretty much put it in the notes just for time's sake. The mapping team has a lot going on, but Dig Life Relevant, we're looking at how do we actually offer different mapping services as part of the an element of cooperation as a service. I think that this is something that members should explore, not just for mapping, but for anything that they can offer that helps people collaborate. And there could be a ecosystem of service providers as well as an ecosystem of groups. So the mapping team is going to model that. Also, both Robert and Sophia, and I don't know who else, will be at the Decentralized Web Camp run by the Internet Archive this summer. And we hope to carry forward the work that we did on the map last year to support the mesh network community that Robert's been working with in Toronto, and as well as like expanding the map for mesh networks in general. And passing it to Eric.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. And, okay, can everybody see the document?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so Climb That Mountain is a long-term project, so I am really exploring the problem space at this time. So thanks to Stacy, she has an amazing network. I have been having some Zoom meetings with educators and understanding where they come from. And some of them have experience from the 60s and 70s. Some of them are more recent and still working with communities. So I really want to see where the decentralized technology fits. And if any of you are former educators or want to participate, please contact me. So I'm also having Zoom meetings with some technical people to understand the latest technologies and architectures that would make sense for a decentralized education learning management system, or just how they would fit in to pieces of a learning management system. And we are looking at agile project management tools and Kanban boards. And we have an agile.diglife.coop system, which is Taiga, which is a good way of getting started. It's more focused on developers, but it will help us organize our notes and user stories as we go. Now, one thing I learned recently is Keybase, and this is a product that allows people to create their identities and have end-to-end encryption. And I think this would be great for online classes, because you could create teams of users and they would have their identities verified based on their social media accounts, and all their conversations are encrypted, and you could have subgroups of small teams within your team. So I'm keeping up with the development of the DAT protocol, And there was a recent conference in Germany where they announced some of the upcoming features. And it's very exciting to see this community really working on a protocol and enhancing it, making it something that we could use in the future. And I wrote an article here for just summarizing my experience and where I see the goals of the project and some of the advantages of the technologies and just a little deeper dive. So feel free to read this. It's linked into the agenda. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. It'd be good to get the link to that article into the notes. If you can do that, that'd be good.
Yes.
I'm on it now.
Okay, got it.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Okay, so any questions for Eric on that one, or shall we move on? Okay.
Before we run to finance, can we just say, like, is there anybody else that has a project that didn't get on the agenda that can fall into this under other project updates that you could either talk about or just write in the notes and leave a link if there's stuff that you want people to know about? As we've developed cooperation as a service, our actual project support for individual members has kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit. So I want to make sure that people have a chance to show what they're doing.
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, if anyone wants to add to the notes or speak, or maybe plan to speak at a forthcoming call to talk about their work, we're all ears on that. We're very keen, so that'll be good. Okay, so I'm going to ask Philip now to give us a quick rundown on the financials.
Thanks. Short, sharp and sweet. The important piece of information is we are liquid. That's very good news. We have just a smidgen over £6,700 sterling in the bank, and our rate at which it's going out roughly matches the rate at which it's coming in. So that's a nice place to be. As my maths teacher said to me, "Where's the best place to live?" And the answer was just inside your means, and here we are.
Okay.
If there's any questions about, in terms of closing last year, our accountants have got all the information, and they'll probably have the year closed in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And I will post on Mattermost, as always, the accompanying reports. But if anybody has any other questions in terms of visibility of bank accounts and all that sort of stuff, just ping me and I can point you to them. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that. Okay. Right, I'm going to move across now to Roy. You're going to talk to us for a few minutes about public engagement work, yeah?
I am. Well, there will be some screen share. I'm warning you, it won't be as efficient as Wacom's. But this is the mundane stuff of telling the world that we exist, and hopefully in some sort of constructive way. We're making some progress in certain, I think, quite key areas. So if you can see my screen now, hopefully you can see that we have the start of a new website structure. So if anybody would like to become involved with that and see where it is going, please let me know or get in touch. But basically that is starting to take form and shape in Grav, this animal up here. Grav is structured around Markdown, so it means it's relatively easy for us to pull information into this here space. Please do not see this as a finished, developed look and feel. This is basically placeholders and structures for us to work towards. I'm assuming everybody can see the screen.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. The next thing I'd like to remind everyone about is the fact that we have a Twitter feed. I'm currently, and with Christine, adding on a fairly regular basis. It's fallen off recently, but I would like to pick that back up again. So again, anything that anybody thinks that is worthwhile, please either dump it in there somehow, or get it across to me, or whatever, or use the hash share in the portal. The other function that's going on, or we have at least the structure to go on, is an outgoing week note. That now exists. It is basically structured and ready in Civi CRM, so it could go out to all members weekly. Content for that is available in the Dig Life week note over on Kodi. I think that's about it in a nutshell. So broadly those three. There is also we have floated the notion of Dig Life ambassadors. So that's people who would like to step forward and, in whatever domain they work, just promote Dig Life or reference Dig Life or whatever. Again, there is a structure for that in Kodi, and with an outline of what is involved there. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on here. Probably a little bit too much to go through in detail here and now. So if anybody would like to follow up, please come across to the channel and follow what's going on there.
If you were involved in the creation of the content for the previous website, definitely be in touch with the web content team. The public engagement team will be revamping all the content, and we will be, as should be obvious, putting cooperation as a service and then forward, and putting the Dig Life and Tech We Trust mission sort of as on par with the whole suite of or ecosystem, coral reef of collaborating organizations as that grows. So the structure of the website is meant to support organizations finding their spot in the coral reef. And then if Tech We Trust as an individual is one of your core things, that pathway for becoming an individual member of Dig Life will still be available, but it'll be less front and center.
Okay.
You also notice, Christina, to add to that, that we're using a new publishing platform called Graph. Thanks to David Ng, who pointed us to that new solution to get content out on the website. So this is a departure from Ghost that we have used in the current website in the past. We will probably use Ghost more for blog type of content, right? So if we go back to blogging and writing individual articles, it's still a great platform. So you'll see Ghost coming back there. But for this new space, there's a new platform called Graph. I encourage you to take a look at that. And we do want to make this also multi-site available, so that future organizations who join us will also have an opportunity to create their websites using that kind of platform. Thanks.
Okay, great. So more on that is in the public engagement channel in the Mattermost, yeah? That's the place to go to get stuck into that work. Okay, thanks, Roy, Christina, Joaquin. Plenty of activity going on there. Okay, so we're doing really well. We're running a little bit ahead of time, I'd say. Any other business? Anyone want to say something at this point, really, that we've not covered, or got a question, or interested in putting something out there?
There's not too many Dig Life people involved, but it's more of an arcane project. But I'm working on a governance system that's liquid democracy from the bottom up, and the Avogadro trust metric from the top down. So it's controlled top down and bottom up. We tried a trust matrix by itself before. Now we're adding the bottom up component, and that's being written in Golang, and hopefully we'll get it integrated with the Mattermost, so communities can use it.
What's the application for that, Jim?
Managing, it's a blockchain, it's voting and sentiment gathering. So the idea would be that you would raise issues in channels, and there would be voting members in the channel, and maybe that's a way to distinguish paying members and non-paying members. You get to vote. I don't know if I need to explain liquid democracy. This is a little deeper. If I don't vote, my delegate votes for me. If he doesn't vote, his delegate votes for the two of us. No, it's part of the process of engaging stakeholder groups in the decision-making process.
Right.
And sentiment early and et cetera.
If you've got a link to any documentation on that project, Jim, stick it in the chat here, and I'll paste it into the notes for you, mate.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Anyone else care to say anything at this point? Or flag up any work that you're doing or a project? Okay. There are, just wanted to remind people that there are sort of regular calls each week. Just looking at my calendar, I can see that there's a public engagement call every Monday, I think. Is that right? Yeah. So if you want to jump on that and get involved into that, that happens every Monday, and then that's followed with a sort of an open Ask Me Anything type session, and they often have sort of guest speakers on that call on a Monday, and then there's other calls that happen through the course of the week. So there's a happy hour call on a Friday. Christina, you do a mapping call on a Thursday, I think, as a regular. So feel free to get involved in those as your interest makes them relevant to you. Okay. So I think what I'd like to do now is just go around and have a checkout for the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes as we reach the end. So I guess the brief on this is, ask a question if there's anything you need. It's a good chance to raise that question. If you're finding something about the collective exceptionally confusing, most of it's confusing. I think that's part of the design, but especially then, let us know. So I'm going to ask Sean, who's got an evil grin on his face. I'm going to ask him to start off the checkout round.
Thank you, Graham. I'm just loving the concept of designed in confusion. I think that's definitely worth an extra project there. I suppose one comment I would make, Graham, that you're aware of is the Greater Manchester Cooperative Commission is taking evidence on examples of cooperation in the digital sector leading up to the 19th of June. This is a splendid example of international digital cooperation, and I'm just wondering if there's some way that we can maybe get some evidence into that. Not least because officially it's kind of based in Greater Manchester. Of course, that's a ridiculous notion. Looking at all the faces from across the planet here, or at least apart from Rui, across the Anglophone planet, I'm going to shut up. So, bye, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Who's next up? Anyone?
Yes, I think it passed on to me. Yes, I forgot to mention, for the people who don't know me, I'm in Portugal. So, kind of from a little bit out of Anglo that most people here are. So it was very enjoyable. It's a nice update. I just didn't get quite well what Robert Best was mentioning about open learning commons, and something that I would be much interested in. Is it a channel in Mattermost or?
Yeah, it's a new tile that has a bunch of channels in Mattermost, and the link to join it is in the chat. You're already a member, so as long as you're signed up, signed into Mattermost, you can join it. It's both in the Zoom chat and in the notes.
Okay, so there are tiles in Mattermost. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you click it, you'll just then see two tiles because you're in the main chat and then the other one.
Okay, thank you. That was
okay. Thanks, Rui. Gary.
Well, I'm just excited to hear about all the different tangents that we're going on, and I'm amazed at how you have to kind of focus in, otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed in this space right now. And this is one of the most coherent discussions that that we have around. So I'm glad to join it, and I'm really excited about the Open Learning Commons. So I encourage everybody to check it out. This idea of group learning, such as reading a book together, especially with a group that share such common interests, is a very valuable thing. And so I'm just waiting to find a book that I want to read that way. And I encourage everyone to go vote on that list that I pasted in the Zoom chat channel. And add suggested titles and subjects to the list. I'll call on David. David E.
Thanks. No comments. Good meeting. See you next time. Eric.
Yeah, hi everybody. I posted some notes in the chat about video archiving. So we have a video archiving protocol under development, so anyone can review it and add comments to it. And we have a YouTube channel which has a lot of the videos up through May. So if anybody has recordings of meetings that should be archived, we have a curation channel as well. I posted the link there, so we could review the videos together before we post them publicly. Thanks.
Cool, thanks, Eric. Who's next?
I'll just follow on from Eric there. First of all, Eric, thank you for reminding me about the video work that's being done there, because I think from a public engagement standpoint, that is something that we haven't factored in but should do. So that's good to be reminded. And my closing appeal would be to everyone here to reach down into their inner evangelist whenever they have the opportunity to, and tell anybody and everybody about the extraordinary things that are going on here. We'll try and provide as many tools as we can to make that easy for you, but we will need people to dig in a little bit and help us along in that way. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Roy. Philip, you got your hand up.
Just a brief one to say that I love everything we're doing, but perhaps the one thing that really presses my buttons attends to one of the 7 principles of the cooperative movement that I understand from those who know these things better than me, Sean, Graham, is often the most neglected, which is principle number 6, cooperation among cooperatives. We're just on the cusp of enabling that as a core competence, which is unusual for a cooperative. Therefore, we could be on the cusp of getting a whole bunch of different communities, but with shared values coming on board here. And I'm really, really excited about that prospect. So I'll leave you with that. Adrian, how you doing, mate? Do you want to check out?
Yes, I just love the progress and the energy here. Haven't quite figured out how to connect it to the other projects I'm involved in, but this is definitely a unique effort that I'm glad is expanding.
Excellent. Thank you, Adrian.
Colin.
Yes, thank you. Oh, what a lot of fun this was. I feel like I'm exploring on a racetrack. It's a really good group. Yeah. And I would like to be more connected with the some of the mappers and look at some ontology type of things. I'm also looking at ways to show these exploration maps to the larger public. So there's some privacy issues and what's internal and what's external, and how do you get validation on that? How do you, and how do you use people's times most wisely so you're not recreating the wheel and type of things. So yeah, and I'm burning the candle on all three ends. So please reach out to me. I like people to reach out. Don't feel you're interrupting. And if I have time, I will. I'm on the Mattermost. So I have a few chats on the go, about a 2-week cycle of getting around at this point. I'd like to get it closer to a 1-week cycle, but we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Jerry, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to jump in because I think these general meeting calls give us a chance to hear what's going on, hear where we are a little bit. So I have a question I'll put on the Mattermost that I'd love all of us to ponder, which is like, what's the best possible thing we could do from your perspective? Like, what could we actually go do that would matter to you, that would be interesting, that would use the assets and skills that we have sort of collective here, since collecting and collective and cooperation seem to be in the air a lot. So I'll put this on one of the channels in Mattermost. Christina, I'll probably ask you which is the best place to put it. But great to hear from everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael.
Too many old men. Sorry about that. It's not that I'm against old men, being one myself, but inclusion, diversity. This has been a very productive meeting because it's been old men chattering, which is good and necessary. But let's get something else happening. Bring in what's needed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good point, well made. Stacey.
Right on cue, right? I just love the opportunity to be here and seeing all the pieces and imagining how they'll fit together. So thank you.
Thanks for coming. Great. Joaquin?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone to go to our portal, which is at diglive.coop, right? So just type in that URL and use your Mattermost username to log in for the screen that shows up. There's been some progress on the portal. You can see a lot of things happening there in terms of what are the different organizations or groups that we're now putting together here in this bar. You can see a lot of the tool sets we're building together, like the holonic mapping piece, like the chat piece, like the organization in different structures and notes that we're putting together, right, to share these as quick updates from your group, from your team. So there's been a lot going on. So check it out if you have the time. Just go to diglive.coop and you can explore that space from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Who I've not mentioned, Robert. Sorry, I'll come to you, Jim, in a minute. Robert?
Sure, I can be quick. Thanks for pointing out the video archiving protocol. I guess I'm recording here, so I'll have to go through that afterwards. And yeah, I'd just like to mention I'm super excited about some of the conferences I'm going to in the next couple of months, one being the DWeb camp, but also one with David Ng here, the ISSS 2019 conference, where we'll be running some workshops actually speaking about Digital Life Collective and Open Learning Commons and Federated Wiki and a bunch of those things. So I'm excited to hear that the website stuff is updating, and because I feel like I'm still not the greatest at speaking about Digital Life Collective. So I think somebody pointed at that last time to say, hey, there'll be some new wordsmithing there soon. So yeah, I'll end there.
Thank you. Yeah. Jim McGee.
As you know, as I revealed myself as a newbie, and the thought that's floating through my head is I'm
is I'm going to paraphrase a quote I once came across at Car Talk, for those of you who were Car Talk fans back in the day, which is that I didn't get all of my questions answered, but I think I'm now confused at about more important things and at a higher level. So that's progress.
Excellent.
And
thank you. Who's yet to go? John? John Grant, you there? Yeah?
Yes, that's me. I'd like to second what Gary said about my interest in lifelong learning, personal development, future of work. And I'm also interested in Jerry's idea of suggesting something that's we all focus on over the next 12 months. And we reach that as a consensus. And then from an organizational learning point of view, to see what we succeeded with and what we weren't so successful with, and to take that forward to the next year.
Great. Thank you, John. Les? No? Thumbs up from Les. Yeah, okay. Okay, anyone else? Who have I missed? Christina, sorry.
I just want to follow up on the designed confusion with a poem from Wendell Berry. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And when we no longer know which way to go, we have begun our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is one that sings.
Thank you. Yeah, very apposite, I'd say. Yeah, Steve.
I'd just like to go back to actually what Sean said about the 16th of June, because that sort of links into what Philip was saying about the principle number 6 or whatever. And I wonder what we should do for Sean. How do we apply? How do we put the dig life into that as an example? What do you need?
Okay, so there's a website where people can make submissions. I think Sean's probably got the link for that. He could probably post that into the chat or into the meeting note. I think I've got a call with the somebody probably tomorrow, who's one of the people administering the commission, to talk to them about some digital stuff. And I've got a feeling they're going to invite me to go and give evidence at a live session that's coming up. So I'd be very, very happy to take Digital Life Collective evidence with me and present it at that meeting. And also, as I say, there's an opportunity to submit evidence through the website as well to back that up. So there's plenty of opportunities there for us, I think, to get some interesting stuff across. Okay, thanks, Steve. Has anyone else not had a chance to check out? I think we've got everyone covered, but it's very difficult with these screens. Okay. Whew. Right, so we're only just a little bit over time. Thank you very much for your time. And I think that we'll do another one of these in the not too distant future. See if we can get the numbers up over 30 maybe next time. I'm definitely going to have to get a bigger telly for that, because it's I can't get everything in on this one. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, your energy, your input, your ideas. Enjoy being part of the Digital Life Collective. Thanks very much. Bye bye now.
Thanks, Chair. Take care.